Hi, Alan Stratton from Southern Woodturners. This week's turning project is going to be this nice vase out of Aspen. It has a nice figure and grain and color, and I did hollow this. It's a deep hollowing project through the hole in the top. Now, I have avoided doing deep hollowing projects for a long time. That's partially why I've been doing the series on making hollowing through the bottom or through a joint on a neck or somehow else. But I have a solution to my problem. The problem was that with my old rig, I was very afraid of getting a catch and having it wreck my shoulder. It was kind of a crutch-like device, and I didn't think it was worth the risk to my shoulder to do deep hollowing projects with that setup. So I've explored different ways. I have an articulating thing that is just a little bit too loose. But thanks to the Southern Utah Woodturning Club, I now have what I think is an excellent solution. They made these for club members. I am an honorary member of that club. I'm sorry, they will not sell them. They are for club members only, but there are commercial equivalents, so I think it's worth explaining it for you. It really is very simple. This back piece is set for the height to have the tool at the midpoint of the lathe, and it is just made out of Baltic birch plywood with a layer of high density polyethylene for a good slide apparatus. It is adjustable with a couple of spring-loaded knobs here to adjust the tension and how well this slides back and forth. So it's completely free to slide. Then there's a little bit of a stand here, but I'll get back to that. And then at the very end there's a high-speed steel cutter that can be easily sharpened and ground, and they actually gave me a replacement one. This one's at 45 degrees, this one's at 90. So that goes in and hollows. Then back to the stand, there's a arm that comes up, a bent arm. This cinches up to hold it in place. Then I've put a piece of wood on the end, and I have put a USB backup camera here. Now, they made it originally for a laser, which has been quite popular in recent years, but once you see the effect of this USB camera, you won't go back to the laser because this is really sweet. So this then is plugged into a computer. I'll show that later in the video, but no real software other than the Windows operating system, and we're off and running. Put a piece of transparency. Yeah, some of you may remember these. We used to use them on overhead projectors, and for those of you who don't know what an overhead projector is, it shined a light through the bottom, bounced it off a mirror, and hit a screen. So, and then once you have this on the screen, the tool shows up against that screen. Trace the outline of the tool, and then since the camera is fixed relative to the cutting edge, as you go in, you'll see that you can see exactly where that is in relation to the vase. So it goes in and you can see just how deep you are and how close to the edge you are. So this is a really great setup, and I think you'll like how it turns out, and yes, I like how this little vase turns out too.
I believe this wood is Aspen. I got it in a wood exchange at one of the woodturning clubs that I belong to. The chunk had been waxed, but nothing else. There is mold and punky wood at the pith. The punky wood is making mounting this wood difficult. I'm using a stem center clone at the headstock, but the wood is so punky that the teeth are not getting traction despite regularly tightening the tailstock. So, roughing is very slow going. The wood is too out of balance to turn the speed up very much, but any significant pressure on the gouge stalls the wood, but not the lathe. The live center teeth are not doing any good at all. Eventually, I can turn up the speed and rely on the greater momentum to make the cuts. Finally, I can cut a large tenon and change the mount to a chuck. Much better now. And I can complete the outer shape with my large bowl gouge. Before any serious hollowing, I'm drilling a 3/8 inch hole to establish the inner depth for this vase. I'm leaving the base extra thick to give me some good bottom weight and to insulate it from overzealous hollowing. Tape marks my target depth on the drill. Now for the hollowing. A high-speed steel bit is mounted as a cutter at the end of a long bar. The round bar is anchored on both sides with square bar. Another bent rod comes up from the bar to hold a USB inspection camera. The USB inspection camera is plugged into an old laptop computer. The only software is the built-in Windows camera app. A piece of laser transparency stock is taped to the monitor. By the way, do you remember when we used to use these for presentations? Once everything is locked down, I trace the cutter with a marker on the transparency. Then as I move the cutting head, the cutter is on the screen on the transparency. The camera is showing the workpiece with the cutter invisible inside. But as I move the cutter, I can see its position on the screen. The tool minimizes catches. If I did have a catch somehow, there is no risk of shoulder injury. I can almost say that the absolute worst case would be to mess up the tool. I am attempting to sand just inside the mouth, just to ensure it is smooth to someone's fingers to feel. A locking clamp helps me reach a bit deeper, but it is tough to sand very effectively. Actually now, I only need to touch up the neck before sanding all of the outside. But I have to apply thin CA glue to several punky sections and resand it completely. Finally, I need to carefully part off the vase. No way do I want this one to fly away. The bottom has a lot of punky wood. I'll saturate it with thin CA before recessing the bottom with a disc sander in the drill press. I'm buffing this one to get a nice shine. My vase is finished. The hollowing rig did a great job in only about 11 minutes. I'll be using it more now for different hollowing projects. No joints on this vase. Between the larger mouth and the hollowing rig, I'm safe and happy. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, tell your friends, and send me your comments and questions. Every week I make a new wood turning video. Please wear your full face shield anytime the lathe is running. Until next week's video, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.